I'm down here in San Antonio at the KLRN studios, and they're going to put together a show about Texas dance halls. So they asked me to round up a bunch of people who know something about it, and I said, well, the last man standing who knows more about it than anybody is Jody Nix, because
well,
he grew up in one.
I appreciate that.
Well, folks, just to do a little bit of introduction, Jody was born in a long time ago in Big Spring, Texas. His dad, Hoyle Nix, built, about the time he and I were born, built a dance hall because he had a band, but he was also a farmer and a rancher out there. And he built a dance hall that is still there today and employed some of the greatest musicians that ever played Western swing music there, including his own self, and taught his son, Jody Nix, how to do it. Welcome to the show, Jody.
Thank you, Ray. Thanks for asking me.
And give us a brief history of the Stampede, which is the dance hall your daddy built and where you still play to this day. Just give us a little history.
Okay. They started building it early in 1954. I was almost 2 years old. They had been playing all over West Texas in their circuit, like a 300-mile radius, and they wanted their own home base. So they decided to build the Stampede. And it opened on Saturday, May the 8th, 1954. At that time, there were no tables in there, just benches around the wall. And they told me there was 1,100 people came to see them that night.
Wow.
And you've been there. It's a fair-sized dance hall, but you know they were just packed in there. My dad and my Uncle Ben were very popular at that time, and people were ready to see the new dance hall and see them. And they just turned out in droves. And it probably cost $1 or $1.25 to get in to see them back then. But it has been in our family for 67 years. And it was open every Saturday night from 54 up until all through the years until my dad passed away in 1985. And then when I took the band and started working on my own, you know, I started going out on the road in Texas and parts of the Southwest, and I couldn't play there all the time. So it was not open anymore on a full-time basis. But when I wasn't traveling, and you know more about traveling than any of us, I come home and played there, and I still do on occasion. We've been there 3 or 4 times this year, and we haven't changed it a bit. They did put tables in it in 1958. It is a BYOB place. We don't have a liquor license. It's where all ages can come, old ones, old folks, new, young folks, little ones, families, whatever wants to come there are welcome. And it's always been a family place. We sell chips, Cokes, ice water setups, you know, and if they could rank, it's a BYOB. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's been a mainstay in our family, and I have had it since 1994 when my Uncle Ben passed away. He bought it from the estate after my dad passed away, and then when he passed away, it went to me. And I've had it ever since 1994. And like I say, I play there pretty regular, not like we once did, but it's there if I need it. It has become a mainstay, if you will, in Big Spring. It's been featured in Texas Monthly 3 times, and a lot of pictures. And Texas Country Reporter came 3 years ago and did a story on me and the Stampede, and it was just quite an honor to have had it recognized that much. And Bob Wills started playing there in 1956 and played there probably 3 or 4 times a year with my dad, is what they called the battle dances back then. You know, my dad and them would play a while, and Mr. Wills would close it out. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And he did that all through the years until he had the stroke in 1969. And one of the final appearances that he ever made before the For the Last Time album was there in September 1973, and he was there in his wheelchair. So the place has a lot of history. Mr. Wills played there. Johnny Lee Wills played there. Jimmy Heap and the Melody Masters has been there. Shoji Tabuchi, you know Shoji, the big man in Branson, Missouri. Johnny Bush has been there. Tony Booth, Frenchie Burke, Jake Hooker, Bobby Flores.
Hey, Jody.
Yes, sir.
I played there.
Yes, sir. I was getting to that. December of 2004, Ray Benson asleep at the wheel. Yes, sir. I wasn't going to leave you out.
We
sir.
didn't. Now we didn't outdraw Hoyle Nix on the opening, but we had a good crowd. You know. Now I'm going to ask you some questions and just give me your opinion and stuff. When you started playing around, we've been talking to a lot of folks about the Hill Country dance halls because and of course you played so many of them. But a lot of people don't know about the West Texas dance halls. Of course, the Graham brothers had all those dance halls.
Yes.
And give us the names of some of the ones from Lubbock, Midland, the small towns, Memphis, et cetera. Give us some of the names of the places that you have played and your daddy played back in the day.
Okay. Now I never played these that I'm going to mention in Midland. If I did, I was with him because I was too small to, before I started on my own. The Melody Club, the Tumbleweed Club in Midland, and the Stardust Club in Odessa, which everybody that is somebody in country music has played there, including
yes,
you.
That's right.
I played
Stardust,
there.
Yep.
Seen Ray Price there a few times, Johnny Bush there many times. Lubbock, the Cotton Club, the Saddle Bronc Club in Lubbock, the Western Air. Let's see, Sweetwater. A lot of the places that didn't really have clubs, so to speak, or dance halls, the American Legions and the VFW halls were very popular for dance bands back then. And we played all of those in San Angelo, the Dixie Club, the Boots and Saddles, Menard, the Corral Club, Fredericksburg, Pat's Hall, Anhalt and Spring Branch.
You still play there, don't you? You still play at Anhalt Hall.
Yes, sir. Every September, once a year. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and again, so you name these places, and same thing. When I first hit Texas, we would play all these places. I told folks when we moved to Texas, of course, you and I met for the last time in '73, wasn't that?
Great. Yes, sir.
And then we moved down as fast as we could, and I tell the folks we tried to hire, Jody to play in the band, but his daddy wouldn't have none of that, and he had a better job there anyway. and
that's a long time ago, Ray.
Oh gosh, we've had the best of times, Jody, because one thing I would say is that we came down here because we had heard the music, we had gone out, gotten a record deal and everything, but we had never known all these people. Jody grew up with them, so when we came down and met Jody in '73 and met his dad and Tommy Alsop, all those folks, they welcomed us with open arms, and that's the other thing about a Texas dance hall. I've never seen them, well, I've seen some. I reckon you've seen a few fights, but for the most part, people are friendly and they dance.
I just thought of another dance hall or two, if you don't mind me.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Stagecoach Ballroom in Fort Worth.
Of course, of course.
Still going. We're going to be there tomorrow night. And Panther Hall. I'm sure you played there in the early years.
I told folks that the Longhorn. We were playing the Longhorn Ballroom the night that Bob actually passed away in '75.
My dad used to play Paul Jones quite a bit during the week, or nearly every night, and he'd say, "All right, friends, it's time to Paul Jones." He said, "We'll blow the whistle, and if you get a good one, stay with her." And I heard Bob Wills say one night, "We're going to have a Paul Jones." Said, "We'll blow the whistle and either take a hold or turn a loose, whichever the cause may be."
One of the first times we played, it was in Seminole, Oklahoma, at the Circle W Corral, and we walked in, and we were brand new. I mean, and the guy said, "You have a whistle?" And we were going, "What do I need a whistle for? I'm not a cop."
Right.
Well, what's your opinion?
Right.
You're more than anybody, Jody. You played these halls more than anybody, seriously. And what do you think about the future? You think that young folks are going to continue to do, the Cotton Eye Joe, two-stepping, et cetera?
I hope so, Ray, and I think so. We still draw a mixed crowd, the older, the middle-aged, the younger. We still draw kids, but there is younger guys coming up that are hopefully going to swing that you and I love so much. And with that being said, probably Jake Hooker and Bobby Flores. Of course, Billy Mata he's not old, but he's up there kind of around us, and he's still playing. And Jason Roberts and Kelly Spinks, and there's a lot of guys in the area and the region that play our kind of music. And I hope that they'll keep it going. I hope you and I have several more years to keep it going too. That's my plan.
Amen, brother. I appreciate the thought. And again, of course, you're a lot younger than me by a few days. And
yeah, a few days. I think 1 year.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll send you a copy when you get this all edited. I think you'll enjoy it, and keep them dancing, Jody.
Thank you, Ray. It's a pleasure to see you and a pleasure to be with you, my friend.
I hope to visit, and again, I promise we're going to come up and play the Stampede one more time, by golly, I guarantee.
Well, let's don't make it one time. Let's do it several times.
Okay. Oh, club owner, I'll tell you, he's hard to please. I'll tell you, they're pushing.
No.
Thank you, Jody. We'll see y'all next time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Definitely. Jody next, ladies and gentlemen. Howdy, Brennan Leigh. How you doing today?
Hi, Ray. Glad to see you. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. I'm down here in San Antonio at the KLRN studios, and we're doing a program about the Texas dance halls. And we're going to be interviewing folks about the history of them, and then, of course, about the contemporary, condition of them and vision of them and what people see. So you came to Austin many years ago, I remember, and from where from?
Minnesota.
Way up in the prairie. I just was listening to your Prairie album yesterday on vinyl. Thank you. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's a beautiful album, folks, about her roots, basically. And you came to Texas playing very traditional country music, if I remember correctly, your brother and you, when I first encountered y'all. And you're, of course, always been a songwriter. Now, recently, and in the past, you've had bands and done records with Jesse Dayton, etc., country music, and have played the dance halls. And give us a little recollection of some of the experience you've had at Texas dance halls.
Well, those dance halls were a lot of the reason I sort of fell in love with Texas in the first place. I was a pretty young teenager when I moved to Austin. And my brother and I were opening for people like Don Walser and Hot Club of Cowtown. And I remember I played Lukenbach and Swiss Alp and Sanger Hall and Fisher. There's just so many beautiful, they're so charming, and that sort of thing doesn't exist anywhere else in the world.
The uniqueness of the Texas dance hall, some of the ones you mentioned are small enough that they existed just because they weren't huge, big old places, but they were, as you said, community centers and places where you went to dance. Tell who are some, and then of course you played with your own band in some of these places. You got any stories about enjoying it or anything?
I mean, those are just the easiest gigs to enjoy because you see the whole family, you play, you bring your band, you load in, and you see, grandpa and grandma and the young kids, and somebody'd always have a cake or something, and it's just so charming, such a beautiful, unique culture. And you get treated like family when you go play music for those folks. They're always so grateful.
And so the difference, you and I both know playing a hall and a dance hall, you being a songwriter, etc. I've always said the reason I like playing dance hall is because it lets the guitar player and all the instrumentalists play a lot of solos, because people are paying attention, but they're more paying attention with their feet than with their ears. And on the other hand, as a songwriter, I know a lot of Nashville acts would come down to Texas. I remember we had Brooks and Dunn when they first started out, and they came down and we played a big dance up in Amarillo, and I was visiting with him afterwards, and he said, and the band was going, wow, we really bombed, nobody clapped. And Ronnie looked at him and said, are you kidding? They were all dancing.
It's the Texas applause some of the time. Is when folks are dancing, you know they like it. And you know, as a writer, I could play my own songs as long as they're danceable in those places. I could play, you know, a Ray Price tune or one of mine, and the folks appreciate it. And they all know how to dance, which is also unique.
That's what a friend of mine one time promoted a dance tour of Texas, a Nashville act, you know. And of course, it was basically a bluegrass band that had gone electric, and they found out that none of their crowd knew how to dance.
Yeah, bluegrass dancing is something else, I suppose. You have the hippie jam band dancing, and then you have like the buck dancing. So maybe not a schottish.
Yeah.
Like in Texas.
Yeah, no, and again, learning the repertoire of a Texas dance hall can be traumatic at times. When I first came to Texas, we were known as a Western swing band and a country band because we had a record out. And the first time somebody asked for the Cotton Eye Joe at the Farmer's Daughter here in San Antonio, we played the vocal version that I had on a 78 RPM record by Bob Wills, and people stood in line going, what the hell is he playing?
Yeah, it was funny the first time I saw that, because where I'm from, you know, in Texas, automatically people know they must grow up in grade school doing the Cotton Eye Joe, the schottish, and they all, you know, two-stepping. But I was like, how does everyone know how to do this? It's just in the wool. Well,
yeah, I was taught in the elementary school then. Johnny Gimble told me that the Cotton Eye Joe, the first recollection he had of it was at the early 50s in Beaumont. And of course the Eddie Dean record was later, so I don't know the history of it, but certainly it's one of those things. And of course, if you go even a little further back, when I hit the scene, you had to do what they called a Paul Jones dance, which was the women in the circle in the middle and the men on the outside. First thing the guy said when we come to the gig says, do y'all have a whistle? Because he blew the whistle for when you're supposed to change partners. So anyway, your new album, which I am very lucky to have been able to plunk on, is a collection of really wonderful, brand new Western swing tunes. And so you got the rhythm in your feet. What happened?
I mean, it's a long story, but I kind of grew up listening to Western swing, you guys and Bob Wills. And that was part of, like I said, the charm for me with moving to Texas was that sort of Western swing just didn't, you know, it didn't seem to exist anywhere else. And so I went there, and I lived in Austin 15 years. And then funny enough, when I moved to Nashville, I kind of got the Western swing bug again. Just started listening to all those Tiffany transcriptions, Bob Wills recordings, Tommy Duncan singing. And I was like, oh man, it would be really cool to do a Western swing album. So, and what, you know, what better band? There's no better band in the universe than Sleep at the Wheel. So I consider myself very lucky.
Well, you brought a couple of ringers down with you that sure helped, you know, and those right. Boys.
So Chris Scruggs and Paul Kramer came with me.
What's your perspective on the future of the thing? You know, do you see more young people coming to these dances and stuff?
Well, you know, it's hard to say. I think so. I can only hope. But, you know, it's such a rare and pure form of art that it seems like it's not going to go away to me. And there's always people that, especially here in Nashville, I see a lot of people, a lot of young folks that are seriously into Western swing. A lot of the musicians are. They have a genuine love for it. It's not an ironic thing or a fad. It's in their hearts. So I feel feel strongly that it's going to stick around, and hopefully I can do a small part to perpetuate that.
All right, go write a song, Brennan.
All right, thanks, Ray. It's good to see you.
Tell Noel, hey.
I will. I'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. They're doing a program on Texas dance halls, and I want to talk to you about your long career and how it intersected with a lot of Texas dance halls. Of course, you started down here in San Antonio in your early bands, and before the Sir Douglas Quintet, were you playing shows around in any form?
Oh yeah, I mean, I had the band called the Goldens. I was singing in Denny Esba back in those days, and we played a lot of dance halls back in the days, you know. And a friend of mine, Geronimo Trevino, wrote a book about dance halls.
One of the best, yeah.
And I just looking at it the other day, and out of all those dance halls, I played like 31 of them over the years, you know. It's hard to believe I'm that old.
You're a lot older than me, thank you. Hello. You have been, you know, Augie and I met back in the early 70s, and of course I had known him by the music that he played from the 60s. But by then he had the Hat Band, the Augie and the Hat Band. We played a lot of those joints. But talk about the early days of those places where you played, because they weren't just country western dance halls. They had Mexican music, they had rock and roll, they had R&B, you know, and talk about how that was back then.
Well, I mean, you know, we go to dance hall. Back in those days, we were making $150 for playing 3 hours, you know. We played Cheskahova Hall, you know, and what is it, the KC Hall. You know, there's so many halls. I've got them all written down. I can't remember them all.
Yeah.
But I got a book right here in front of me with all the book dance halls. You know, but it was fun back then because you could play a country song, you could play a Jimmy Reed song, you could sit there and play a, you know, Ray Price song. No matter what you played, they liked it. Because all they wanted to do was dance. And if you played a two-step, they'll dance at every song. It was a two-step. You know.
Yeah, I know, man. You know, as long as you had that Johnny Bush, Ray Price 444, they'd be dancing, you know.
They'd be dancing, that's right.
You know, I played, the first place I played, and you would know about it because it was the Farmer's Daughter.
Oh, yes.
And, of course, we had put out that record in 1973 of Take Me Back to Tulsa, so old Bobby Barker, loved Bob Wills, yeah, hired us, and behind the stage was a 8-foot picture of Bob Wills there. We were like, dang, man, we're in Texas. And but old Doug said to me, I said, you ever played The Farmer's Daughter? And Doug said, no way, I'm gonna play The Farmer's Daughter, man.
Yeah.
I
went by there the other day, about a week ago, we drove by, I told my wife, Sarah, I said, there's the old Farmer's Daughter. I think it was a barbecue place now.
Is that right? By golly.
Yeah.
You know, but you come from the, you know, you come from the time when, you know, there was the different kinds of music were the different kind of crowds, but the dance halls would accommodate all of them.
All of them, that's right. You know, you play whatever you want. It was fun back in those days, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And then, go ahead.
You know, I play some of them dance halls, and I'd play a polka, and then they said, can you play another one?
Yeah.
And that the one I knew back in those days, you know, I'm going to go back in the 58, 59, you know. They said, play some more. One time, we played in Seguin, Texas. I don't know, I can't remember the dance hall we played up there, but they wanted waltzes. Man, how many waltzes can you play? You know, I mean, I didn't know that many. I could do a song and make it into a waltz beat, you know. So it was fun doing that back in those days, you know. One time, a friend of mine in Martinez Hall, I played there. I'm going back in 57. My mama had a grocery store on East Houston Street, and this band, people came and said, you're a musician. Can you get us a band to play at Martinez Hall for a wedding? I said, sure, man. Well, only band around the neighborhood that time was the T-Birds. They were a black group. They played nothing but R&B and rhythm and blues, you know. So I hired them for, I think it was $200 per play for 4 hours. And the first dance they wanted was said, can you do the wedding dance? You know, and the guys looked at him and said, we don't know that song, but we play something. They played honky tonk for the wedding dance, you know. And a couple of weeks later, people come in and said, man, I thought you were giving us a country band. They played nothing but blues, you know. But they danced all night for them. I
was going to say, you know, as long as they can count to 4, you can dance.
Yeah,
you know?
there you go.
Well, let me, you know, then you and Doug, of course, formed quite a legendary band, you know, and then recorded with Huey Moe. But at that time, then, being a rock and roll band, of course, Huey tried to sell y'all as coming from England.
Yeah.
It was Sir Douglas. Who was this Sir Douglas guy?
Well, Huey came to San Antonio at the Coliseum. Dave Clark 5 came. And I opened the show at the Goldens, and then Doug's band played, and then Dave Clark 5. But I owned the first box organ in America back in that time. And after we got through opening the show, Doug was going to play. I heard Dave Clark 5 was going to cancel because they didn't have a box. Their box organ broke. So I told Mike Smith, he passed on now, bless his heart. But I said, I got a box organ. He said, no, we have an English organ. I said, I got one. So they went in the green room, and they looked, and he said, he's got a bloody box organ. So they used it, and Huey Moe come backstage and said, Doug, you have long hair, and Augie, you got long hair. Y'all know each other? So we've known each other since we were 12. So put a band together because I want to do an English type stuff. And where me and Doug used to, Doug was playing at a place called a Blue Note. Doug said, you got eyes to come play with me Thursday, Friday, and Saturday next week? And I said, yeah, I'll come. And me and Doug were always friends. I'd go see him play. He'd come see us play. But we played, but this couple would get on the dance floor and dance. And Doug said, man, she's a body mover. So he wrote a song called She's a Body Mover. We went to Huey, we cut it in Houston. We cut a whole album in 2 days. We each got $25 for it. And when the record came, they wouldn't play it on the radio because it said body mover. It was risque back in those days. So Doug had to go back in the studio and change it to She's a Body Mover. And that's the story of the quintet.
That's it, yeah.
Said, y'all got to sound English. And it was just me and Doug were the only two English guys in the band. The rest of three were Spanish. And I remember he asked Johnny Parrish, our drummer, said, man, you guys talk English. He said, hey, but man, I'm talking the best English I can. They were true stories, you know.
So then when you formed the Hat Band and the Family Band, and of course the current, you know, just Augie and the Texas Tornadoes and stuff, have you started playing dance halls again, or is it you're a limited schedule these days?
Well, after the quintet, Doug wanted to play jazz.
Yeah.
Wow. So I wrote a song called Hey Baby, Que Paso, and recorded it. And I played a few dance halls, but not too many. Mostly I was playing clubs around Texas and in California and Louisiana. But I like to play listening rooms where people sit and listen to you now, you know.
Well, but in your life, you have seen this state and the music change drastically, because again, I told people, you know, back when I met you and everything, we were, you know, we had cut our hair because playing country music in a dance hall with long hair, it was dangerous.
Oh yeah, back in the days, I wrote a song called "Just 'Cause I Got a Beatle Haircut Don't Mean I Ain't a Cowboy." But I mean, that was fun back in those days, you know. But everybody's got long hair now.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was really it's changed so much and so different. And the kind of things that you've done span everything. In other words, the kind of music that you have done over the years, from Hey Baby, Que Paso, to the stuff with Doug, to the Hat Band stuff, to all that you've recorded, is what goes on in Texas dance halls, Texas clubs, Texas honky-tonks, whatever it is. And some of it you dance to, some of it you do the hippy-dippy shake, and some of it it's a two-step and what. But don't ask Augie Meyers to play more than one waltz a night, for crying out loud.
Yeah, that's right, man. But I play a lot of two-steps because I put a country album out not long ago, and I took it to Nashville, and I said, Augie, it's good country, but it's old country. Because all of it was Ray Price, Lefty Frizzell, you know, Hank Williams. I didn't play their songs, I played mine, but in that kind of vibe, you know. And I got to leave, and he said, "You're gonna leave my CD, your CD with me?" I said, "No, it's old country. You ain't gonna like it." Capitol Records, I'll never forget.
You always would come up and share your music with me. You know, I remember when you played me Hey Baby, Que Paso, and we went shopping it around. You made a deal and everything. you've always had great creative stuff going on, and are part of the legacy of, especially of San Antonio, Texas. And you know, folks, I just want to tell you, the other day when it was celebrating Augie's 80th birthday was quite a show of appreciation down here, and so well deserved, my friend. Man took a Vox organ and made it into an institution, by God.
It was fun while it lasted.
Hey, you're in good shape, my friend. You're still in great shape.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Oh, listen.
I feel blessed, you know, where I'm at.
Listen, man. The other thing that a lot of folks don't know about Augie Meyers is he's been called on by some of the greatest musicians, songwriters in the world to play on their records, you know. And the list is long, you know, but let it be known that, you know, that Augie's sound and Augie's playing is known all around the world.
That's my mailbox money.
We want to thank you once again, Augie, and all of San Antonio. Say adios, and hey, baby, que paso?
Take care, baby. Be safe, Ray. Love
Thank you, pal. Love you too. Gary P., how you doing?
I'm doing great today, Ray. How are you doing?
Good. First question I want to ask you is, what's the P stand for?
Perseverance.
All right.
Actually, Philip, it is.
All right. You know, it's just, I've only known you for over 40 years, and I always say, gosh, I wonder what the P in Gary P. Nunn stands for. Perseverance is the good one. Well, listen, we're here to talk about Texas and Oklahoma and dance halls. And you and I have been to probably a number of them. But first of all, my first meeting with you was, and correct me if I'm wrong, was with the the Los Gonzo band with Jerry Jeff. But before that, what were your musical experiences?
Oh, well, gosh, you know, I started out in a band in junior high and played all through high school and, you know, teen dances. And then I played at Tech and eventually ended up in Austin in 67 it was. Went to school. And, you know, of course, there was a lively music scene in Austin around the University of Texas and a lot of clubs. And, you know, we could make $200 a night. We were doing real good. You know. So, and then in 1972, Michael Murphy came to town, offered me a job backing him up. He had a record deal with A&M, and wasn't long after that, Jerry Jeff came to town, and he asked us to make a record with him, and he had a pretty good hit, LA Freeway, out of that, and then Willie came to town, and I got to play with him for a week there on that Armadillo tour that Eddie Wilson put together early on, you know, with bringing Lone Star Beer, the Armadillo World Headquarters, and Texas Music all came, you know, they were doing a big promotional thing. So Willie hired me to play for him on that tour. But, you know, and then we started writing songs there and playing with the Los Gonzo Band. We made a few records with the Los Gonzo Band.
So talk about that very legendary place where you made a record out in Luckenbach.
Yes, well, that was in 1973, and Jerry Jeff invited me to come out. Of course, the rest of the guys in the band were with him full time at that time, and he invited me to come out and play piano and sing and do whatever. So I did, and so we made that record, and he asked me to sing that song, London Homesick Blues, and the crowd went crazy, and they put it on the record, and he asked me to join the band and go on the road with them. So that's when I joined Jerry Jeff, and then the London Homesick Blues was a pretty good hit, that Redneck Mother and the other songs.
But tell them now, in 1973, Luckenbach was not the tourist attraction it is today. Describe Luckenbach in 1973.
That's right. Well, you know, it was one of those old German dance halls, you know, like we're focusing on today. Just a neighborhood out in the country, actually, gathering place, or the post office there, and there was a little grocery store, and of course they had a bar and a beer joint. There's a German community, and drinking beer is just part of the culture, and dances. Of course, the old dance hall there, they had pa bands, and they'd have a country band every once in a while, but it was it was a remnant of those old German dance halls that many of whom still survive today. And hopefully, with some effort on our part, we can make sure that they survive forever, hopefully.
Yeah, well, now, and Hondo owned it then, huh? And exactly, how much do you pay for a town, by the way, back then? Do you know?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they made a profit on it when they sold it, Kathy Hondo Crouch and Kathy Morgan were partners on that deal. And the first time I walked in there, Geach Cook was behind the bar, with his cowboy regalia on and entertaining all the folks.
Yeah, Geach and Hondo, that's where you went at. And they played out there, played Moon 42 and Dominoes, and got Guy Clark a song out of it, didn't they?
Yeah, they sure did. They sure did. Well, it remains. Of course, they've made a lot of improvements out there, as you know, over the years. And but the old dance hall remains, for the most part. The original. They've made some improvements inside and rather outside and around the perimeter of it. The old dance hall is just like it always was. Those old dance halls with open windows.
That's right, because there wasn't no air conditioning. Now, you came, you and I grew up in the 50s and 60s and played in rock and roll bands and everything. When you played the rock and roll circuit, like before that, did you play any of the dance halls? Because I remember when I started playing, they would have, like rock and roll night. Now that did not mean, psychedelic rock and roll, but they would have, if they had Mexican music night, they had, et cetera. Did you ever play any of those dance halls with a rock and roll band?
Well, I did. Actually, I played the Cotton Club.
In Lubbock, Texas, ladies and gentlemen.
I had a Tuesday night gig at the Cotton Club when I was going to Tech out there. But there wasn't that many. There was the VFW Hall in Brownfield where Tommy Hancock and his, remember Tommy and his family band, they used to play on Tuesday nights, and I used to sneak out as I was in football training. I just sneak out and go to those dances out there. But mostly in those, it was just teen dances,
Yeah.
Then there was plenty of teen clubs in West Texas, to keep us busy.
And that, like I say, the thing about the dance halls was when dance trends changed. I have a Bob Wills record where he does the Buffalo Twist. He said, "Hey kids, there's this new dance craze. We need to write a twist song." So it was all about dancing, and whether it was rock and roll dancing, etc., it didn't matter. And so anyway, then Gary P. Nunn himself went from behind the piano and started fronting a band. And tell us about your experiences in dance halls for the last 30, 40 years now.
Well, I tell you what, they've pretty much sustained me through the years. They've always, the rooms like, of course, Lukenbach and Green Hall, and of course, there's other Schrader Hall out around Goliad and Victoria, out in that area. And there's others that have, Ann Hall is another one, and Kendalia Hall. I was looking through Geronimo Trevino's book.
I love that book. Yeah.
Which is an excellent book, and it names, I think it names about 113 different dance halls, and I played in 41 of them. So here's the Linden Out down around El Campo, London Hall, the Longhorn Ballroom in Dallas. Did you ever play that room? That was one of the old classics.
Well, I'll tell you, played it many times. In fact, we played the Longhorn Ballroom the night Bob Wills died. And you know,
Yeah.
it was wild, man. You know, we did okay crowd, but yeah, Dewey Groom had it going then back then. And but yeah, the night Bob died, and 2,000 people packed the place, and it was very emotional.
It was a great room, you know, but it just, you know, time and downtown Dallas kind of overwhelmed it and drove it into oblivion, I guess. But,
yeah, you know, the changes, but it was when Bob had it was the Bob Wills Ranch House, the Longhorn Ballroom. They had you know, silver dollars in the bar and murals on the wall and saddles. I mean, it was a cool place. We played it once with the old the numbers time with the old stage, but and it had the old Feed the Kitty on the front.
Well, that was a great room. I only got to play there once. I actually promoted a show there, a Texas OU weekend.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And there's a big mistake because, first of all, it rained about 6 inches that day. And it just, you know, you don't go up against Texas OU football.
No, and all the partiers up in Lower Greenville, you know, walking up and down, punching each other in the face. So they weren't going to make it down to Industrial Boulevard. Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh. Well, anyway, so you morphed, like a lot of us, you know, from a young rock and roll band into a Texas honky tonk band, you know, because, like I say, it's the same notes, isn't it?
Right. It's you know, I really enjoy the transition they're going through, and I'm so happy that I chose to kind of go the country route, because there's always a market, especially here in Texas, especially here in Central Texas, you know, because the dance thing is so much a part of our culture, and these dance halls are so much a part of the local communities where they exist and always have been. You know, they're not only dance halls, but they're meeting places, gathering places, places to have weddings, community centers, you know, and they're also family oriented. Places where, you know, I was just reading at one of Geronimo's passages about the Quihee Hall.
Yeah,
and
Quihee Gun Club.
Talk about how the kids came and they learned how to two-step when they were young, and they carried it with them. So it's such an important part of our Texas culture. It's very important that they remain viable entities in these communities where they exist.
That's a fact, my friend. Well, we wish you continued luck and success, and keep on traveling. You know, it's been a crazy year of not playing dance halls, so I'm sure you're glad to get back on at least a limited schedule. You know, because you are a year older than me, you're very advanced in your age, and I understand.
Yes, well, you know, things are really picking up. Things are picking up. You know, my schedule, I have like 13 dates in July and had 10 here in June. And so, gosh, we're busy again. So we're kind of making a Texas dance hall tour here. And there's no place I'd rather be, because, right, you and I know that, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that being able to play these dance halls, you feel like you're carrying on a tradition of those that came before us. You know, the Bob Willses and the Herman Browns and the Gene Autry's and Roy Rogers and the Willie Nelson and Floyd Tillman and all the great artists that made a living in these dance halls. Yeah. You know, they wouldn't play country music on the radios in those days, but they would allow them to promote their shows. So.
Well, one other question about this is, can you tell us what SPJST stands for?
Well, I'm told it stands for a special place just south of town.
That's the most G-rated version I've ever heard, since I don't speak Czech.
There you go. Well, it's been a pleasure visiting with you, and I'll see you down the trail in one of these Texas dance halls one of these days.
Happy trails. See you.